Feels good to be back. Yeah.
It looked like you got the reps you wanted yesterday on the new kickoff. Um, what's left? Is it just now like let's see where it goes? With all this experimenting and stuff you've done all preseason?
Yeah, I think we have a good understanding for the play and being able to evaluate the other teams and things that they've done and some of the techniques. I feel we're in a good spot. So excited about the new play and the opportunity to impact the game.
Who will be starting that kickoff? I mean, we saw a bunch of different combinations.
We've worked a number of different guys. We feel confident in the guys that we've rep back there. So you could see a combination of a number of different players back there.
Turpin so good.
Turpin, explosive, fast, very good vision, aggressive runner. Even though he's not that big of a body, he's aggressive to get downhill. But I think ultimately his vision and speed.
To see more than two different combinations in the same game.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, we've worked with a number of different guys back there, and we feel pretty confident in the group that we have.
It seemed like in the preseason that the kickoff was no big deal. Nothing like dramatic happened in the games I saw. Is that just because it was preseason, do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams probably held back some of the schematics of the play relative to the play. I think you saw more generic type returns, which you typically see in preseason anyway, even with the old style. So I think you're going to see more creativity, more variety. I think you'll see a lot of those things.
I know you don't want to talk strategy-wise, but in general, do you think most teams are just going to split their two returners back there, or are there a whole bunch of different possibilities for hiding things?
Yeah, I think you're gonna. It's a lot of area for one guy to have to cover. So, especially with the result of the play, if the ball hits inside the 20 and gets into the end zone, it's a touchback to the 20. So I think that you'll see a number of different alignments and things like that.
Would the strategy change? Say you got a 3-point lead and you're kicking off with 2 minutes to go. Change what you do with that kickoff.
I think everyone's strategies will vary, just like in any other type of game setting.
Do you think the fact that touchback is to the 30 is a big enough incentive for the kicking team not to kick in a touchback?
For sure, I think that it is. I mean, I would say there's things that factor into that. Personnel. How's your personnel look going against? Who's the opponent you're going against? I think all those things, play a factor in your decision to either, try to generate a touchback or force a return.
The play in practice and preseason games, do you still feel like it'll be as explosive as we thought it would be when it was introduced?
Yeah, I think that there's elements of that. I think that it can be an explosive play. Yeah, and I think that. Yeah, I think here's the thing. It ultimately comes down to you can have all these ideas for schemes and all these things you want to run, but at the end of the day, it's how well can you execute the blocking? Because that's still the biggest part in having a productive return is if you don't block well, you're probably not going to have good production. So I think that's been the hardest thing, I think, with every team in the league is being able to be consistent with the blocking techniques because it is still hard to make a one-on-one block in space like that. Even though it's more of a confined space, it's still hard to be able to sustain a block like that.
Bubba, is there anything, I know it's still a small sample size and a lot of vanilla type, schemes in preseason, but is there anything that surprised you kind of looking at the data and watching it over the course of the preseason that maybe you didn't expect to come out of the new kickoff rule?
No, it's really what I thought it was going to be.
Preference in general, Bubba, to defend the play rather than kick it out of the end zone?
Can you repeat that?
Is it your preference generally to defend the kickoff play, defend it, rather than just kick it out of the end zone?
Is it my preference? I feel like every play in the game is relative to the situation in the game. I think that everything factors, whether it's, you know, field goal block, punt return, kickoff, kick return. Every play is different. It's all in in that situation. How do you want to handle that situation? So I couldn't say yes or no to that. I think there's times where I'm gonna want to force. There's times where we would potentially bang. It's gonna be kick to kick.
I think it was the Seattle game. They had people covering the kick. A guy left early a couple times. Is that a difficult discipline to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, I think the officials did a nice job as the preseason went along of being more consistent on how they officiated that with the elite. It's really an illegal formation because everything is considered like an in-play. Once the ball is kicked, it's considered the play has already started. It's not considered a false start. But yes, so I mean we're coaching our guys and educating our guys to not leave until the ball is touched or hits the ground. I think you saw better results of that as the preseason went along. Minnesota jumped off, started early 3 times versus us, and it got better. Yeah, and it got better as as the preseason went along.
Dustin and Charlie, is there any concern that they didn't get a ton of camp and preseason reps?
No concerns with the specialists. It's a good group, good continuity with those guys. They've actually had a lot of reps like on the side. So I feel confident in our veteran group.
The depth chart you guys sent out had Elijah Moore as the punt returner. Is that actually the plan on Sundays to have him be your punt guy?
Yeah, I mean, we have options. We do. We have options. We have active roster options. We have practice squad options. I mean, the roster is, fluid. So I feel like there's a chance that you could see him or other players throughout the entire season. And like I said, we're confident with the guys that we're going to put out there.
Along those lines, I mean, you guys were able to get Mike Ford Jr. back on the practice squad. Just number one, what does it mean to get him back on the team, and how confident are you that if you guys call him up, he can kind of step right in and fill whatever role you need?
Yeah, Mike's a great player. He had a lot of production for us last year. Lost him to Houston in free agency. Glad to have him back. Brings great energy. A leader of the group. A veteran that's been in a bunch of games. Like I said, made a bunch of plays for us last year. So definitely excited to have him back. And we always say like the practice squad is an extension of the roster. At any point, those guys can be elevated. Guys like Justin Hardy, Tony Brown, got all those guys will factor at some point for us. So excited to have really all those guys and to have Mike back.
We asked you about Coach Rabel a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
What's it like for you to have him as a resource, and then how much does it help you when he's out there doing special team reps just to reinforce your voice to the guys?
Yeah, that's my guy, man. He when I was a rookie in New England, he was like my big brother. I lived like a mile and a half from him in Easton, Massachusetts, and looked up to him my entire life. And it's great to have him around. Obviously, we were educated similarly in the kicking game, being and playing together in New England. That's where I really got my foundation from Bill and Brad Seeley. So, having Mike here echoing things that I've installed and, things I believe in are very consistent with on things he sees in the kicking game as well. So it's been great to have him around. He's really helped out me and Bravo quite a bit, in addition to obviously his role on offense. So it's been really good to have him around.
You talked about the blocking aspect. How have you seen just the guys adjust over when this rule was put in place and just over the off season, getting reps in game, and just adjusting to the technique that's necessary?
I think the guys have done a good job, and they've understood, and we've communicated to them like this play, these techniques are a work in progress. We needed to drill them in the spring. We've done as best we could to get more reps of them in the preseason, in preseason practice, training camp practice, the joint practices. We've gotten a lot of reps at that stuff, and I think the guys have definitely gotten much more comfortable with the overall play in general. So I think that we have a good understanding of how we need to execute and what it's going to take to be able to have good production.
How have you seen the guys gravitate towards the creativity angle and being asked to do different things and knowing that it could change multiple times in a game?
Yeah, I mean, credit to our players for, and credit to our players for just the preparation and putting in the work and getting extra work and extra meeting time. I think that those guys have had an open mind, and I think it's shown.
What is your goal in terms of kickoff coverage, your opening drive spot? Is it like inside the 30 or 25? What's realistic goal?
I mean, I would say every time we kick off, we'd like to tackle it inside the 25. That's my goal, is to have a product like that. To me, that would be a good drive start, would be inside the 25. I think that's what you shoot for. Inside the 20, like we used to, would be pretty tough to be consistent to do that. But I think inside the 25 is realistic.
Seeley's still around. Do you keep in touch with him?
I still keep in touch with Brad. He coached me here for 2 years and coached me in New England for 4 and San Fran for 2. So I've learned quite a bit from Brad. Yeah. Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right. Yeah, how about that? I know, not bad. We'll take it. No questions? All right.
Micah Parsons just, I mean, how do you, obviously you don't know much about how Mike might deploy him.
Mhm.
When in a situation like that, how do you sort of operate, conceptually when you're putting a game plan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a heck of a football player. I mean, he's all over the field and does a lot of special things. He's unique in a lot of different ways. So, going into it, you got to try to just at times, map out all the different scenarios that could potentially happen and try to account for those things best you can. And I think that's all part of it is just, hey, playing a little bit of the what ifs games that you try not to play sometimes, so you're not chasing ghosts. But first game of the year, they can do a lot of different things. So we want to prepare off some looks that we've seen. We want to prepare for some unscouted potential looks on where he can be and what they can be doing with them, and just kind of make sure that we get our guys as ready as possible against a unique player like he is.
Is Deshaun for this opportunity? How his arm looked to you, and just how is it all coming together?
Yeah, I think he's excited to get out there. I think he's a competitor. He wants to be out there with his guys and out there playing ball, and he's looked like himself out of practice from what I've seen on tape from him in the past. So I think he just continues to progress and continues to kind of get back in that rhythm a little bit, and I'm excited to see him out there, and excited to watch him kind of fly around and be himself, and that's all we want from him. We just want him to go out, be himself, no more, no less, go out, make good decisions. Everything else will take care of itself.
With Jed Wills working his way back, he told us yesterday that he's not going to start this week. So how do you feel about your situation at left tackle, and how have you seen Jack Conklin adjust to taking reps on that side?
Yeah, I mean that whole scenario. It's we're taking that thing day by day and kind of seeing where things shake out as we go throughout the week. But these guys have been working their tail off. Whether it's the guys that have been out there, whether it's Jack working his way back, so we're I think in a good spot in terms of whoever's out there playing for us. And we just got to go out and do everything we can to make sure we're putting our guys in hopefully the best situations possible, whoever's up front, because they got a great front, and they do some good things from a personnel standpoint and a schematic standpoint. So whoever's out there, we got our hands full, and we got to make sure that we're putting them in the right positions and trying to do things to make sure that we're not stressing things as much as possible.
Probable that you might need to alternate, use two different players at left tackle throughout the course of the game?
Yeah, I think that's we're constantly going to be evaluating as the week goes, as whether it's this week or future weeks, and just kind of continue to play things day by day and see where things progress. So today's going to be a good practice for us in terms of getting out there, flying around in some of these situational periods to kind of see where everything's at, and then we'll evaluate after today as we go in tomorrow.
Jack looked in the handful of practices that he's been back, and is it any concern that the right tackle or left tackle switch? I mean, he's talked about how he played at Michigan State, but hasn't in the NFL. Like, where does that weigh into the decision?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think Jack's been, in this league for a while. He's a pro, a great vet, who's got great experience. So, again, as we continue to go and evaluate, we'll look at all the different scenarios to make sure, guys are comfortable and feel confident when they go out there.
Ken, does this feel any different for you, for last year and with the Bills, Josh on, how does this feel different, if it does for you, now that you're?
I'm trying to, no, it does. Trying to figure out the best way to answer the question. It's a great question. It definitely feels different. I think being in this organization, being around these guys, Deshaun's extremely hungry. Deshaun's been great for me in terms of just taking the coaching and really kind of running with it. And then obviously new staff, new energy, and working for Kevin's been awesome. So I've really enjoyed this, this process, kind of getting to this point, and really excited about game day and that, that next step in this kind of new journey. So I don't know if that answers your question completely, but it's definitely very different feeling, because it is a new place, a completely different energy for me than what it's been in the past, and I'm very, very excited to be here, very excited to be with this group. And I told these guys, like, this group of players, it's like, I mean, in a short amount of time, it's just like I garnered so much respect for these guys and how hard they work, what they put into it, what they sacrifice. Like, I truly do love this group of players. Like, I love these guys. Like, they're my family, and so having that feeling, going into the first game of the year, no matter what happens, I don't think that'll ever change, because of the amount of respect and the amount of love I have for these guys.
Sean to play like himself, you also want him to protect himself. What's that balancing act been like for you?
Yeah, it's when you got a quarterback with his type of ability, that's a constant battle, and that's a constant balance. And it's like there is a time and a place to go out and try to make that play, or we're fine. Time and a place to go out and try to make that play and everything like that. But there's also a time and place to get down. So it is a balancing act for guys that, especially first game of the year, getting back and everything, you got those juices flowing. But we got to make sure we're communicating, staying smart, and it's a long season, and we're in game one, and so there is that definite balance. You're right.
I mean, how hard is it as a quarterback and as a competitor, like you mentioned, to rewire yourself to think that way?
Yeah, fortunately, I didn't have to worry about the running and and all that stuff as much. But no, it is, because you get out on game day. It's like you get excited. You get and he's played in, a million games, a ton of games, and a ton of big games. Whether playoffs and all that stuff. And I think for our guys, the understanding of, like, hey, yeah, this is the biggest game, this is the next game, and that's our focus. We got a great team coming in here, and our focus, whether it's Deshaun in the quarterback room or any of these guys, is, hey, we're worried about today, getting better today. We'll move on tomorrow, and then, when game day comes, let's focus on these guys and go out and play hard, and so I think if he takes that mentality, hopefully everything takes care of itself.
And will you be on the field then?
Yes. Yep.
And no more experimenting, you're gonna be on the field?
Yeah, I'll be down. Yes, sir.
What was that?
It has been. No, it was fun. It's fun being back down there. I think, just getting the juice and the energy down the field, and having that feel down there, it's like you feel part of the game. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's been a lot of fun for me to be down there, and I think it's important for me to be down there to be with Deshaun, be with the quarterbacks, and it's a good way for me to help, in terms of that line of communication, and make sure everybody's on the same page, be it those guys, be it any position group, between all of us, between Kevin, between everybody out there.
About Amari since you've been here?
Look, the guy, he goes out and he just works every day. It's like he's explosive. He's talented. Obviously, great route runner. So he does a lot of good things for us. And I think and just his willingness to kind of grow and expand and whether it's a route technique or whether it's a, different variation move, with him, I think there's been a lot of, good conversation there of the willingness to learn and the willingness to grow and continue to grow for a guy who's been in this league for a while and caught a lot of balls.
Zach, how have you seen the receiving corps complement one another? Like, and obviously you dealt with some injuries throughout training camp and everything, but how have you seen them just sort of blend together and how they complement one another?
Yeah, I think it's a group when you look at it, there's a lot of good, different strengths and guys do things, and to your point, complement each other very well. And the great part about that group is we got guys that can do multiple things, whether it's outside, inside, so it gives us a ton of flexibility and ability to move guys around. So we got a great combination of, hey, speed, quickness, physicality, explosiveness, possession guy, all those different factors, I think, kind of grouped up in that room, and the ability to kind of adjust and move those guys around into different spots. I think that's been a lot of fun for us as we grow this thing.
Abel's been involved in a lot of areas, but he's really spent a lot of time with David Njoku. Just what can that knowledge do for David coming off a Pro Bowl season?
Well, I think, I really truly feel like having him here is invaluable for Dave and for us as an offense. To have, his mind as a, defensive coach, defensive play caller, head coach, and everything like that, and then really, taking that experience and taking time to learn what we're doing on offense, and now you could really kind of blend those two things together with, that experience and what we're doing as a great teaching tool. That's been fantastic for Dave and been fantastic for obviously all of our players and for the coaching staff. So, his blend of experience combined with, really taking the time to learn what we do and relating that experience with what we do is great and will just continue to help us as we go. I mean, he's awesome, and I've loved every second being around him.
Just a couple more.
With the new elements of this offense, I guess, like, bigger picture, how much do you anticipate, like, these first few weeks being trial and error and trying some things out and kind of having to learn on the fly as an offense as things get going?
No, I think it's a great question. I think, you continue to grow as you go. Because I think there's that element of, especially early in the season, making sure guys are comfortable, making sure guys can play fast. So things that, whether they're new or things that whether we've done in the past, you want to make sure, it's stuff that, we've repped in OTAs and training camps and things like that, and continue to kind of grow it so that they feel supremely confident in what they're doing when we get out there. So I think it's a balance we got to strike as coaches, and that's our job to make sure, we're giving ourselves enough to attack an opponent, but at the same time having a balance to make sure our guys are supremely confident and can go out and play fast on game day.
When you talk about your relationships with players, was there a guy that when that cut down happened, you were like, just, man, I'm really happy this guy made it?
I mean, that to me is like the hardest day, because I've been in those guys' shoes too. It's like, and that's a hard day for, I think, obviously a lot of coaches, and for me, it's like there's definitely those guys that you're like, gosh, I'm glad this guy made it. And then there's guys that's like, it's like it just kills you. They're not going to be there, So you have all sides of the spectrum right there. But I think there's definitely guys that are here that I'm really are glad that are here that are going to help us, whether it's in practice, giving a great look, whether it's one or two plays on game day, whether it's a bigger role as the season goes on. We saw it last year with us, right? You just never know as the season goes on.
Really good with quarterbacks playing off key, like Josh Allen, Cam Newton. What has your approach been with Deshaun Watson? How have you gotten so good at coaching that style of quarterback?
I think, like, the biggest thing that you want to do for these guys is not take away their instincts. You know what I mean? And I think I heard a coach say one time that it's like, you got a box, and inside that box is, hey, your footwork, your reads, everything, just in the playbook is in that box. Well, some of the best quarterbacks that have been out there, they're the ones who are step out of that box, and those are the guys who make those plays work, when they step out of that box, either with a scramble or, hey, why'd you throw it there? That's not part of the progression versus, well, I saw this, or, just instinctually they have that in them. So there's that balance of staying within the system while also not handicapping them from what they instinctually do best. And so I think that's the big thing, and just understanding, there's going to be plays that, he's going to make some exceptional plays for us that no one else in this league can make, and he's going to be able to do that for us, balancing that with, hey, there's a time to throw it away and move on to the next down, so there's definitely that balance you got to strike with guys, because you don't want to lose that aspect of what makes them, special in their own way. And I think the great thing about Deshaun is he can do that outside of this, just normal system, and then he can get back and work a progression and rip it to an outlet or a third progression in the read just as equal. So I think it's just a balance you got to strike with these guys and make sure you don't put the handcuffs on them in too many ways.
Going back to David, that tight end room, it's kind of small with him and Jordan, but what do those two bring to the offense? How do they complement, and what are you hoping that they do to kind of boost this revamped offense that you're installing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the great part about them is like they give us a lot of flexibility, and Dave, his skill set of what he can do as a pass catcher, as a vertical threat, as an underneath threat, as an intermediate threat, as a blocker, in whether it's run game or pass game. I mean, I can remember just watching Cleveland tape from, other teams I've been on and watching them. It's like, God, it's like, it's whether it's run game, whether it's pass protection, whether it's routes, so I think him in that room, they give you, but obviously him especially, give you a lot of flexibility in the amount of things that you can do offensively. Okay, thanks guys. All right, have a good one.